Look at these two lines. One climbed, the other barely moved. That gap right there? That's your missing raise. Since 1979, American workers became over 90% more productive. Typical pay? It rose just 34%. That means you're producing nearly twice the output, but your paycheck acts like nothing changed. This wasn't always the case. There used to be a deal between workers and the economy. A real one. From 1945 to 1979, productivity and pay rose together, nearly in lockstep. You produced more. You earned more. Both lines climbed at roughly 2.5% a year. Unions were strong. 1 in 3 private sector workers had a union card. That leverage was real. The minimum wage tracked the cost of living. Top tax rates stayed above 70%. Growth was shared. Then, around 1979, those two lines that had moved together started pulling apart. Productivity kept climbing, pay flatlined. And this wasn't some accident, it was a series of deliberate choices. Deregulation rolled back the rules that had kept corporations accountable to their workers. Union membership collapsed. By the mid-80s, it was half what it had been a decade earlier. Offshoring exploded. Companies discovered they could pay someone overseas a fraction of your wage. Management philosophy changed. The goal was no longer growing a business, it was maximizing shareholder value. A 1982 SEC rule made stock buybacks legal at scale. That one change rewired corporate America. Suddenly, companies had a legal mechanism to pump their own stock price instead of reinvesting in workers. The Economic Policy Institute calls this wage suppression, not stagnation. Pay didn't just fail to grow, it was actively held down. These were deliberate policy decisions made by people who directly benefited from them. So where did the money go? You kept producing. The value didn't disappear, it got redirected. Corporate profits as a share of the economy rose from about 8% in 1979 to over 11% today. That's roughly 3 extra percentage points of the entire economy flowing to corporate profits instead of paychecks. Meanwhile, workers' share of corporate value dropped about 5 points since 1980. That adds up fast. 5 points of a $15 trillion economy is roughly $800 billion a year diverted from workers. Spread across the whole workforce, that's about $5,000 per worker every single year gone. Stock buybacks went from nearly zero before 1982 to over $1 trillion a year. That money used to go toward raises, new hires, and research. Now it inflates stock prices for shareholders. And who benefits from rising stock prices? Executives with stock options, shareholders, not the people on the floor. CEO pay tells the clearest story. In 1965, a CEO earned about 21 times a typical worker's pay. By 2024, that ratio hit 281 to 1. CEO compensation grew over 1,000%. Typical worker compensation in the same period? 26%. That's not a gap, that's a canyon. The value you created kept flowing upward. It just got rerouted before it ever reached your bank account. Profits up, buybacks up, executive pay up. Your raise? Still waiting. Now here's where it gets personal. You've heard the advice. Learn to code, get a degree, upskill. The argument goes that workers fell behind because they didn't keep up, but the data says otherwise. American workers today are more educated than at any point in history. More degrees, more certifications, more training. The share of workers with a college degree more than doubled since 1979. And productivity kept rising. You did exactly what they told you to do. You got more productive. But pay still didn't follow, because the problem was never your resume. It was the system around you. Even workers who did learn to code saw their wages grow far slower than the value they produced. Tech industry profits soared. Some salaries rose, sure, but nowhere near the productivity gains. This wasn't just low-wage workers falling behind. The top of the ladder pulled away from everyone. Median wages grew barely 1% per year over 4 decades. Productivity grew twice that fast. If pay had kept pace with productivity, the typical worker would earn $16 more per hour right now. That's not speculation. That's based on Bureau of Labor Statistics data. $16 left on the table. Now think about what 40-plus years of missing raises actually cost you. That's a down payment you couldn't scrape together, the savings you never built, the retirement you can't picture. Compound those missing raises across a full career, and you're looking at hundreds of thousands of dollars. Not money you wasted, not money you spent badly, money you earned and simply never received. The median home price in 1980 was about $47,000. Today, it's over $400,000. If wages had tracked productivity, families could have kept pace. The math worked. Their money just never arrived. Student debt wouldn't have crushed a generation if wages had kept up with the degrees they were told to earn. Healthcare costs tripled, childcare quadrupled, wages crawled, and they told you it was your fault. The wealth gap you see today wasn't inevitable. It was built year by year, policy by policy, choice by choice. The top 1% captured most of the productivity gains. The bottom 90% split what was left. So here's the truth nobody puts on a motivational poster. That's not a story about lazy workers. That's a rigged distribution system running exactly as it was redesigned. You did the work. The productivity is real. The output is measured, tracked, and documented. The value you created went somewhere. It just didn't go to your paycheck. It went to their balance sheet. You're not lazy. You're not unskilled. You didn't fall behind because you didn't hustle hard enough. You are underpaid for what you produce, and that is not your fault.